mid-1900s, a crab fishing crew went out off the coast of Florida on a voyage. Toward the tail end of the storm, one of the crew members noticed a strange creature that had washed up on the back of the deck. As he got a closer look, he realized it was some kind of a mermaid-esque creature laying there unconscious. He told the others, and then they grabbed it and put it in a spare crab tank on board.
From footage of mermaid-like creatures washed up on shore to stories of encounters with aggressive water creatures in Zimbabwe, these are real mermaid sightings deep-sea fishermen can't explain. Always cool seeing what washes up on shore at the beach, isn't it? Unless, of course, it looks like this. This is a pretty horrifying image, real or not, and I gotta say it does look pretty realistic. You'll notice the creature's jaw even moves slightly like it's breathing or attempting to breathe. Whatever it is, it doesn't look like it's doing very well health-wise. I think there are a lot of people who kinda wish mermaids and mermen were real. You know, beautiful people gliding through the water, singing pretty songs at night, luring sailors down into the dark, brackish depths of the sea, never to be seen again. I would not be getting lured anywhere by this ugly monstrosity, though. So this is a very strange video. Supposedly it comes out of Kenya, but I've heard it coming from other parts of Africa too, so I'm not 100% certain. In the video we clearly see what looks to be a young mermaid-like being washed up on a beach surrounded by onlookers. It's clear that the supposed mermaid is actually on camera. I mean, this is a real person. The question is whether they're a real mermaid or just a person with a fish attached to their lower half. And yeah, that's almost definitely the case, but what creeps me out about this video is why it exists. I just have so many questions about this thing. There's just something very uncomfortable about this footage. Why was this created? Who is the person they've attached to this fish? Are they okay? And just what the hell is the music the uploader has added to the footage? It doesn't fit at all, and it just makes the whole thing even more strange and unsettling. During World War II, strange sightings were reported in the key islands of Indonesia, where Japanese soldiers stationed there encountered what they described as mermaids, or mermaid-like creatures. Local villagers familiar with these creatures called them orang ikan, or manfish, and they were said to stand at just under 5 feet tall, with pink salmon-colored skin, spikes along their spine and neck, and a mouth resembling that of a carp. Instead of a fishtail, they had long arms and frog-like legs, both ending in talons. So they're basically the creature from the Black Lagoon. The soldiers claimed to have spotted the creatures both in and out of the water. One story came from a troop exploring a lagoon who saw one of the things leap onto a rock, facing the soldiers and making a gurgling, burping noise. As another creature swam swiftly toward them, the soldiers fired shots at the rocks and water, but the creatures vanished before their eyes. Later, Sergeant Tero Horiba asked villagers to notify him if one of the creatures was ever captured. Eventually, the village chief presented a lifeless specimen to him. Creature about 4'9" tall, apparently matched the description perfectly. These photos are pretty famous in the world of deep-sea cryptids. They were taken by a man named Jeff Leitcher in 1998. He was a diver who claimed to have captured the first documented proof that mermaids exist. It all happened about 20 minutes off the coast of Kauai when Leitcher was diving with a group. While swimming with a pod of dolphins, he noticed what appeared to be a woman swimming alongside them. What caught his attention was that she was keeping up with the dolphins. Then the woman suddenly leapt out of the water, and Leitcher realized she had the lower half of a fish. The woman jumped twice before disappearing in the water, leaving the group completely stunned. Then, about an hour later, while Leitcher was photographing some underwater life, the same mermaid-like creature supposedly brushed up against him as she swam by. He quickly snapped a few pictures just as she turned around. I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world what people here have known for half a century. The Kauai Point mermaid is real, Leitcher said. In 2009, something strange started happening near Kiryat Yam, Israel. Dozens of locals claimed to see a mermaid off the shore at sunset. Over time, more and more people reported spotting the creature, describing it as resembling a young woman who would frequently visit the beach and perform tricks in the water. As the sightings gained more and more attention, the Israeli government even got involved, and they offered a $1 million reward for anyone who could provide proof of the mermaid's existence. No need to capture capture it, just an authentic photo would do. NBC sent a film crew to investigate. They stationed themselves at Kiryat Yam Beach, both above and below the water, filming around the clock. And one night they claimed to have spotted a human figure dipping into the water before disappearing. The research crew did their best to track the mermaid down, but they couldn't pinpoint its exact location. The footage was sent to Coastal Oceans Research in Los Angeles for further analysis. Michael Schacht, the center's director, reviewed the footage and said although it was impossible to unequivocally determine the figure in the footage, it still remains a viable option. In other words, it could be the real deal, but it's not definitively proven.
In 1730, Hans Egede, a Danish-Norwegian missionary, wrote about something he saw while sailing near Greenland, a creature that defied explanation. He described it as having a human head and torso with a fish-like tail. According to Egede, the creature rose beside the boat, stared directly at the crew, then slowly sank into the sea. What makes this account so unsettling is who Hans Egede was. A serious, devout man whose writings were focused on converting Inuit populations, not really fantasy. He wasn't known for exaggeration or tall tales. In fact, many of his missionary accounts are painfully dry. So for him to suddenly document a mermaid, well, it's a bit odd. Historians today still include Egede's account in discussions of unexplained ocean phenomena. He even sketched the creature in later versions of his log. He either hallucinated or he saw something that he really couldn't explain. Japan's version of a mermaid is not the romantic beauty you'd expect. Known as the Ningyo, this creature is a mix of human and fish with a grotesque twist. Golden scales, sharp claws, and a monkey-like mouth filled with tiny human teeth. According to ancient legend, eating the flesh of these creatures grants eternal life, but catching one brings disaster. In the 1800s, fishermen supposedly caught one off the coast of Shikoku Island. The creature died shortly after, but was preserved and shown to a local official. And here's where things get even stranger. Reports say its remains were later hidden in a Buddhist temple to avoid bringing misfortune. In 2022, scientists analyzed a mummified mermaid stored in a shrine. Though DNA testing showed it was likely constructed from various animals, the preservation techniques suggest someone genuinely believed it was real, so why go to such lengths if it was all just a hoax? In Serbia's Lake Varana, locals whisper about the Mermaid of Black Lake, a pale, humanoid figure with long black hair that emerges on foggy mornings. In the early 2000s, a group of hikers claimed to have seen the creature from a distance, describing it as female in shape but with unblinking white eyes and scales across its arms. When they tried to approach, it vanished into the water with a splash. What's eerie is that locals had told nearly identical stories for decades, even before modern media could influence the narrative. In 2013, an Icelandic diving team exploring an underwater cave near Greenland captured something odd on camera. The footage, which was briefly circulated online before being lost, showed a humanoid figure with fins darting behind a rock. The diver filming could be heard screaming underwater before the camera cut out. Though skeptics cried hoax, the divers themselves, experienced professionals, stood by what they saw. Some believe the footage was confiscated due to its implications, and it doesn't help that government bodies reportedly shut down that cave to public access not long after. In the 1940s, fishermen off the coast of Benin, West Africa, claimed to have found what looked like a mermaid corpse tangled in their net. The body, which reportedly had webbed hands, fish-like skin, and a mostly human skull, was taken to local authorities. But within days, it was removed by officials and allegedly flown to France for study. Nothing was ever released to the public, and what makes this case so strange is how many unrelated locals swore they saw it and how quickly it was covered up. Some claim it was part of the Mamiwata legend, a powerful mermaid spirit worshipped across West Africa. In 1967, a ferry captain off the coast of British Columbia saw something on the rocks that stunned him. He wasn't alone. Passengers on board reported seeing a blonde-haired mermaid lounging on the rocks near Main Island. Photos were taken and one even made it to a local newspaper. Some said it was a prank, but others insisted that it was real. In fact, the town embraced the story so much they started selling mermaid souvenirs. The strange thing, no one ever came forward to claim it as a hoax. No models, no performers, no confessions, just a mystery that remains unsolved to this day.
Mermaids. We'd all love to believe they exist, or would we? If mermaid-like creatures really do exist somewhere in the vastness of the ocean, are they something we'd ever want to come face to face with? These are some of the creepiest mermaid stories and footage. This is a piece of supposed mermaid footage captured in Spain. It was taken back in 2013. A man was filming the scenery while cruising around on a tour boat in Mallorca, but something odd showed up on camera. Sitting on a mound of rocks just off the shore was a very odd-looking creature. It had an elongated tail and a bit of a bluish hue, obviously an aquatic animal, but zooming in closer, this thing looks unlike any known animal in the world. The upper part of the body appears to be kinda human-like, with two humanoid arms and a round head, and at first you think that it's completely still, almost like it could be a sculpture or something, but as you can see, it does move its arms. So is this a genuine piece of mermaid footage, or is it just a hoax done with CGI? Is someone sitting in a fish suit out there? As for every piece of footage on this list, let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are. This next one's kinda sad, because it's a dead mermaid, or at least it could be. Folks aren't really sure what this thing is, to be honest, but it certainly creeped out a lot of people. Just back in July of 2023, mysterious remains washed ashore on an Australian beach, along the shores of Keppel Sands, Queensland. A local named Bobby Lee Oates stumbled on these skeletal remains that have not been definitively identified. But what a lot of folks online started commenting was that these skeletal remains had almost mermaid-like features, describing the find as approximately 6 feet in length, with a human-shaped skull, an elongated jawline, and distinctive hair reminiscent of a cow or kangaroo, albeit with a lot of decomposition. Oates shared her findings with the Marine Biology Facebook group. The remains also appeared to possess a tail or limb of some kind. Rob DeVille, an expert from the UK Cetacean Strandings Investigation Program, cautiously weighed in on these images, saying that the possibility of it being the remains of a small cetacean species was high, but he couldn't fully confirm because of his unfamiliarity with the typical marine life in the area, and, of course, just how decomposed the thing was. One of the scariest versions of the mermaid myth has to be the ningen, a creature that people in Japan have actually reported seeing over the past few years. So in recent years, rumors have spread in Japan about mysterious humanoid creatures known as ningen, which are said to live in the icy waters of the Antarctic. These creatures are said to be completely white and can grow between 20 to 30 meters long. Witnesses have described them having a human-like shape with arms, legs, and sometimes even 5-fingered hands. Some say they have fins or tails, kinda like mermaids, or tentacles. In one sighting, the crew of a whale research ship thought they saw a foreign submarine, but when they got closer, they realized that what they were actually looking at was a living creature, which quickly vanished underwater. Then in November of 2007, an issue of MU magazine included a Google Earth screenshot that seemed to show one in the South Atlantic Ocean. The Japanese government has been rumored to be keeping detailed records of sightings, but of course, they haven't released any information to the public. Eyewitnesses are reportedly instructed to stay silent. From Reddit user OldSupermarket5657 comes a tale I'm going to call the Lightning Mermaid, and goes as follows. In 2021, I was in Montego Bay, Jamaica. I was sitting on the beach alone during a silent lightning storm at night, and all of a sudden I felt this intense urge to run into the water. Mind you, I don't swim. After a while, the urge intensified and I stupidly went to put my feet in the water. I remember the water was bubbling and it was pitch black, and I immediately felt this sense of dread and danger and ran back out of the water. After getting out, I went back to sit down on my folding chair, and out of nowhere, a bolt of lightning lit up the sky and the sea, and I saw a big black figure with long hair not too far away from me, just staring at me from the water. After the lightning was gone, the figure was nowhere to be found. I sat there for a half an hour trying to figure out what I'd just seen, but it never happened again. I really believe that it was a mermaid trying to take me out into the sea. Next up is a very creepy piece of footage. Again, this is a mermaid carcass, or at least that's really what it looks like. The footage was taken after a hurricane. We watch as our camera person walks along a beach, trees and debris are scattered across the sand, but then the camera lands on something fishy having washed ashore. At first it looks like it's just a large fish, but the longer you look at it, you realize there's a head of hair on it. Our brave cameraman walks closer to the beached creature and we see what looks to be a mummified mermaid. It has bony human-looking arms and, most horrifyingly, a human-looking head. Again, very grotesque and mummified. And this is probably not how you'd like to imagine coming across a mythical creature. Now, of course, something like this could be faked. Special effects prosthetics are pretty convincing sometimes, but even if it is faked, it's very well done. One of the top comments on the video posted by Cajun2197 states the following: "I've seen real mummies. This looks frighteningly real. The skin pulled back around the mouth as it dried, bulging eyes, taut cheekbones, the ribs and pelvis under dark dried flesh, the fins brittle, exactly like a dead fish dying in the sun." There was another video by someone else filming this creature when it was less decomposed. The arm was more intact and the cheek was not rotting out. Now, if this is fake, someone went to a great deal of trouble to do this. And why? What I find interesting about that comment, aside from the description of how realistic this thing looks, is that someone else also filmed this thing. That means the person filming this video may have not been involved with the hoax, if it is indeed a hoax. Pretty interesting video, but again, what do you all think? Now, just what exactly is this sound? It was recorded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, in 1991, and to this day nobody knows what it is, so, I mean, it's gotta be mermaids, right? The upsweep is one of those deep-sea mysteries that scientists still haven't been able to fully explain. What's cool is that unlike other weird ocean sounds that were only picked up once, the upsweep's been recorded every year since 1991. It seems to follow a seasonal pattern, getting louder during certain times of the year and then fading. But even after decades of listening, no one's been able to figure out exactly where it's coming from. Some researchers think it could be connected to volcanic activity deep under the ocean, but some others wonder if the sound might actually be coming from some unknown sea creature we haven't discovered yet. We always hear vague stories about mermaid sightings way back in the day, but do we have any specific accounts? Well, yes, quite a bit actually. In 1603, for example, a farmer named Thomas Reynolds saw what looked like a mermaid in the water off the coast of Wales near Pendine. He called over other people and together they watched the creature for about 3 hours. According to their description, the creature was partly human with the upper body of a woman, but from the waist down it looked like a fish. A man named William Saunders, another local, took the time to carefully examine what Reynolds and the other witnesses had seen. He listened to their stories and found their accounts believable enough to document everything. In fact, the sighting was taken seriously enough that in 1604, just a year later, the story showed up in the paper, along with an illustration to show what they described. The mermaid was recorded as a, quote, monstrous fish that appeared in the form of a woman from her waist upward. A guy in South Africa claimed to have spotted a mermaid-like creature in 2008 in the small village of Surbrak. A man named Daniel Cupido and his mother Dina were near the river around 11:30 at night when they heard a loud banging noise. Cupido said it sounded like someone bashing on a wall, so he went to check it out, and when he got closer, Cupido said he saw something strange thrashing. He described the figure as looking like a, quote, white woman with long black hair thrashing about in the water. Concerned, he tried to help, but as he approached, the creature let out this strange sound that his mother said was so sorrowful her heart couldn't take it anymore. Some believe that what they saw that night may have been what's called a caiman, and I don't mean like caiman like the alligator type animal. The caiman is said to be a half-human, half-fish creature that lives in deep river pools. Surbrak tourism officer Maggie Gentry supported the group's story too, saying she personally knew the witnesses and made it clear that they were not people who drank heavily or made up stories. She said she trusted their word and believed that they genuinely saw something that night. Between 1887 and 1913, people along the coast of Deerness and the Orkney Islands kept spotting something strange in the water. Dozens of people, farmers, fishermen, and tourists, reported seeing the same thing over and over. The creature became known as the Deerness mermaid. One witness described it like this: It is about 6 to 7 feet in length, has a little black head with neck, a snow white body and 2 arms, and in swimming it just appears like a human being. At times it will appear to be siding on a sunken rock and will wave and work its hands. Sightings like this became so frequent in the summer that it pretty much became a part of the local culture. People even wrote plays about it. And then in 1913, off the southeastern coast of Hawaii, another group had their own run-in with something that matched the same description. A fisherman named Ralph Taylor and his crew saw what they thought was a mermaid while checking their lobster pots. Taylor described the account as follows. It rose out of the water to the height of 3 feet and looked like a lady with a shawl round her shoulders and streaming down her face. The ningen is a mysterious sea creature that people in Japan have reported seeing over the last several years, and it sounds a little bit like a mermaid. Not the beautiful mermaid we all think of, but a mermaid-like creature. Ningen is said to live in the icy waters of the Antarctic and is described as completely white, human-shaped, and can grow up to 20 to 30 meters long. Witnesses say the creature sometimes has arms, legs, 5-fingered hands, fins, tails. One sighting came from a whale research ship. First, the crew thought they were looking at a foreign submarine, but when they got closer, realized what they were actually looking at was a living creature, which quickly disappeared back under the water. In November of 2007, MU Magazine published a Google Earth screenshot that seemed to capture the ningen in the South Atlantic Ocean. There have been rumors that the Japanese government keeps detailed records of ningen sightings, but hasn't made any of them public.
Have you ever wondered if mermaids truly roam our oceans? Get ready to dive into the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape. From mysterious creatures lurking beneath shipwrecks to enchanting beings swimming alongside dolphins, these jaw-dropping videos will make you question what lies beneath the surface. Join us as we explore these incredible encounters and uncover the secrets of the deep. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the Minnesota mermaid. Imagine this. A tranquil day by a Minnesota lakeside takes a wild turn when an Australian tourist captures something extraordinary on camera. Men dressed in bright yellow hazmat suits rush to the shore, carefully handling a mysterious figure with a shimmering green tail. The sunlight dances off the scales as they lift it from the water's edge, the tail flicking ever so slightly. Could this be one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape? The contrast of the hazmat suits against the natural backdrop only deepens the mystery. What could possibly require such caution and such secrecy? As the footage spreads, it leaves everyone buzzing with excitement and questions. Have we finally caught a real glimpse of the legendary creatures that have captivated our imaginations for centuries? In our number 9 spot today, we have the mermaid on a rock. Soaring above the shimmering Mediterranean waters of Israel, an aerial camera captures a moment that has mermaid enthusiasts buzzing worldwide. Amidst the rolling ocean waves, a solitary rock stands defiantly, and there, defying all expectations, a graceful mermaid makes her appearance. With her iridescent green tail glistening under the sun, she scuttles confidently across the rocky surface before plunging back into the depths with a splash that ripples through the water. The video, though very brief, is astonishingly clear, making it one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught on tape. Could this enchanting creature be a real inhabitant of our oceans, or is it just an elaborate hoax fueled by our love for mythical legends? As the footage began to circulate online, it ignited debates and it fueled the imagination, leaving us all wondering if the age-old tales of mermaids might just hold a hint of truth after all. In our number 8 spot today, we have the swimming with dolphins. Okay, this video is giving major Ariel vibes, and it is exactly how I would like to picture a mermaid should they really be out there lurking in our oceans. In this mesmerizing footage, a stunning mermaid glides gracefully alongside a playful pod of dolphins, their sleek bodies moving in perfect harmony through the waves. At one thrilling moment, they all leap out of the water together, silhouetted against the horizon, making it hard to believe what your eyes are seeing. Film Filmed by an avid marine enthusiast, this video blurs the line between myth and reality, sparking debates. Could these enchanting creatures really coexist with our beloved marine mammals, or is this just an elaborate illusion crafted to revive ancient sea legends? As the video continues to circulate online, it definitely leaves us all wondering. In our number 7 spot today, we have GoPro on a shark. GoPro on a shark. Those are a few words I never thought I'd be putting together into a sentence, but it happened and it caught something insane. This video shows some fishermen, of course, putting a GoPro onto a shark and then releasing the shark to see what it captures. This is, I mean, a crazy but super interesting idea, but I'm sure no one expected what it was going to catch. The video is a bit murky considering this really is just a shark POV video, but this murkiness is exactly what makes every movement feel mysterious and unpredictable. As the camera starts recording, something extraordinary happens. Amidst the shadows and swirling currents, faint, graceful figures begin to move alongside the shark. These silhouettes resemble the legendary mermaids we've all heard about, elegant tails flickering and flowing as they navigate the underwater world with ease. This brief but captivating footage has quickly become one of the most convincing mermaid sightings ever caught. Could these enchanting beings really share the depths with these powerful sharks, or is it just a trick of the light and water? In some parts of Asia, the animals that inspired mermaid legends were actually dugongs, close relatives of manatees. These plump, flippered sea cows were sometimes called mermaids or spirit women of the sea, but a shocking 2022 study revealed that they are now functionally extinct in Chinese waters. Researchers interviewed fishermen and found no confirmed sightings in decades. None after 2000, actually. Old records showed plenty of dugongs and mermaids in old tales around 1960, but their numbers crashed rapidly. In short, China's mermaids have literally disappeared. This sobering fact connects back to our theme. Many mermaid myths arose when people saw strange marine mammals briefly and imagined something magical. Now science is protecting the memory of those real creatures. It is a reminder that the real ocean is changing, and sometimes, sadly, mermaid-like animals vanish entirely. Mermaid artifacts aren't only old fossils, some are part of living traditions. In West and Central Africa and even the Caribbean, many people worship a water spirit called Mami Wada, literally Mother Water. She is often depicted as a beautiful mermaid-like woman with flowing hair, sometimes holding a snake. At the Smithsonian's National Museum of African Art, an altar to her was set up in an exhibit. Even though it was just a display, visitors started treating it like a real shrine. People left coins, jewelry charms, a hairbrush, even a little toy guitar on the altar as offerings. It is a fascinating mix of art and folklore, showing that the idea of mermaids isn't just made up, it can be an active part of culture today. Archaeologists sometimes unearth the ancient influence of mermaid myths in very surprising places. In Amasra, Turkey, an excavation in 2023 uncovered a large 2nd century AD marble statue of a half-naked female figure resting on an urn. The experts believe she's a water nymph or sea spirit from Roman times. In Roman myth, there were divinities of the sea and fresh water, essentially ancient mermaid-like creatures. This statue is about 1.5 meters tall and was part of a gymnasium complex. The woman is, quote, wearing a cloak over the lower regions and leaning on an urn, which likely means that she is a nymph of water. It is a beautiful real artifact showing how the Romans blended gods and mermaid imagery. So in Turkey today, we have a 1,800-year-old sculpture of a mermaid sea goddess. Even deep in Papua, island lore hides mermaids. Archaeologists working around Lake Sentani found ancient wood carvings on the support pillars of a traditional tribal house showing mermaid motifs. This discovery was reported in 2020. The carved figure depicts a beautiful woman with long flowing hair and a fish tail. Local legend says the Sentani people's ancestors came from the Pacific Ocean, so a mermaid carving makes symbolic sense. The archaeologists say this new data gives insight into the tribe's origins, and in other words, the mermaid carving is part of their creation story. This carved mermaid is a real artifact showing how mermaid images can be woven into a culture's history.
Eerie sounds from the depths of the sea have been reported recorded since the early days of exploration, and sightings of mermaids go back just as far. Today we're diving into some of the unsettling sounds of the sea that might just be linked to the legends of mermaids, from haunting melodies that lure sailors to bizarre noises recorded in the depths of the ocean. These are unsettling sounds of mermaids that scientists are trying to translate. Legends have long depicted mermaids as sirens of the sea, luring sailors with their beautiful songs. The idea of mermaids singing haunting melodies dates back centuries and spans across different cultures. So really, sound is one of the most integral parts of mermaid lore. In many tales, their voices are described as both enchanting and unsettling, able to draw people into the depths of the ocean, sometimes never to be seen again. Take the famous story of the sirens from Greek mythology, for instance. These creatures sang irresistible songs that led sailors to shipwreck on rocky shores. Similarly, in Irish folklore, the Marrow, a mermaid-like creature, was known for her beautiful voice, often depicted as singing while combing her hair on the rocks. But not all mermaid songs are sweet and melodic. Some are described as mournful or eerie. But are these stories just myths and legends, or could there be some truth to them? The ocean is vast, mysterious, and most of it is unexplored. So let's talk about some of the eeriest unexplained sounds in more modern times. One of the most unnerving sounds ever recorded in our oceans is known as the upsweep, which has earned its place on the NOAA's list of unidentified underwater noises, and for good reason. First heard back in 1991, the upsweep is a series of high-pitched sounds that rise in frequency, almost like an eerie musical scale going up and up. Just imagine listening to it while alone on a boat in the vast Pacific Ocean. I mean, you wouldn't technically be able to hear it without fancy equipment, but let's just say you did have some for some reason. It'd be pretty unnerving. Scientists have some theories as to what made the sound, but none are definitive answers. Some think it could be related to geological activity. Others imagine it being the calls of unknown creatures deep in the abyss. The biotwang. This sound was recorded in 2014 in the depths of the Mariana Trench, which already makes this one pretty creepy. Just the thought of hearing something from the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean makes this sound feel extra eerie. When scientists first picked up the biotwang, they were pretty puzzled. The sound has a strange, almost mechanical quality to it, which is why it was given the name Western Pacific Biotwang. Sharon Newkirk, a senior faculty research assistant in marine bioacoustics at Oregon State University, described it as, quote, very distinct. She pointed out that the low-frequency moaning part is typical of baleen whales, but that twangy part really sets it apart from anything else. In fact, it's rare to find new vocalizations from baleen whales. So what exactly could have made the noise? Is it an odd call from a whale, or could it be something else? I'm not so sure the noise fits with what we typically imagine mermaids sounding like, but who the hell knows? Next up, we have the whistle. On July 7th, 1997, something bizarre got picked up by a single hydrophone, which is like an underwater microphone. The source of the sound, dubbed the whistle, has still never been identified. It's this ultra-low frequency noise that sounds kind of like a whistle, but really deep and eerie. Picture the sound you'd make if you blew air through a tiny gap between your lips, but imagine that echoing through the depths of the ocean. Despite tons of research and speculation, nobody knows for sure what made this noise. Some say it could be a new type of marine animal communicating in a way we haven't figured out yet, like a mermaid. Recorded back in 1997, the slowdown sound is a series of low-frequency sounds that rise and fall in a rhythmic pattern. Check it out. It's very haunting. It sounds almost like a subway train pulling into the station, except deep underwater. It's definitely not a sound you'd want to hear if you were out on the water alone. But scientists have never been able to 100% determine what it is. Some think it might be related to natural geological activity, movements in the Earth's crust, or underwater volcanic eruptions, but some think it could be a vocalization from an unknown marine creature. Interestingly, the sound wasn't only recorded once. Since 1997, it's been heard a handful of times each year, which raises even more questions about what could be making this noise. Is it a natural phenomenon, or is there something deeper in the ocean producing these sounds? In 2012, Zimbabwe found itself caught up in a very strange case involving mermaids that had workers fleeing from their dam sites in the country. Water Resources Minister Sam Sipepa Nkomo addressed the issue during a Senate committee meeting, revealing that mermaids had been scaring away government workers at dam sites, or that's what workers had been saying. According to Nkomo, the workers were so terrified by these supposed creatures that they abandoned their posts, refusing to return. Nkomo shared that traditional chiefs had been called in to, quote, perform rituals to exorcise the mermaids believed to inhabit reservoirs. The mermaids, often described as female creatures with fishtails, were said to frighten the workers by allegedly pulling people under the water. In response to the workers' fears, Nkomo had even attempted to hire white personnel, assuming that they wouldn't be familiar with the mermaid legends, but they too then started reporting strange sightings and would refuse to work on the project. Now, there was skepticism from some, obviously, including Minister Nkomo, who thought that maybe the strange cases could have been caused by hazardous water currents, but the government decided to carry out the traditional rites to calm the fears of the local workers anyway. This footage comes from Marginal Media on YouTube, who explained that he'd captured the footage while diving in the Great Barrier Reef. He'd been testing out an underwater camera when he spotted the creature, only he didn't realize what he'd filmed until later when reviewing the footage on his laptop. At the time, he'd been too busy futzing with the camera, but felt something coming from behind him. He managed to shoot it, but at the time, while underwater with, low visibility like this, he figured what he'd seen was just a normal fish. Now, he was adamant that what he'd filmed was not from a movie or anything like that, and that he hadn't filmed it in a controlled environment like a swimming pool. He says it's 100% genuine, so believe him or not. In 1809, a woman named Miss McKay from the town of Thurso in Scotland claimed to have witnessed a real mermaid while walking along the beach. According to her account, in the Kentish Gazette newspaper, she had an up-close view of the creature and described it in great detail, saying the face seemed plump and round, the eyes and nose were small, and the former were of light gray color, and the mouth was large, and from the shape of the jawbone, which seemed straight, the face looked short. She also said that the mermaid's forehead, nose, and chin were white, but the side of the face was a bright pink. The mermaid's hair, which Miss McKay described as thick and long, with a, quote, gray, oily cast, appeared to be a challenge for the creature as the waves often threw it over its face. She said the creature seemed bothered by this, frequently using both its hands to push the hair back and rub its throat, almost as if trying to remove any dirt from the water. On June 4, 1857, two Scottish sailors, John Williamson and John Cameron, reported spotting a strange creature off the coast of Britain. While at sea, they saw a creature in the water that they described as resembling a woman. According to their account, we distinctly saw an object about 6 yards distant from us in the shape of a woman, with full breast, dark complexion, comely face, and fine hair hanging in ringlets over the neck and shoulders. It sounds like these guys were out of the water a little too long with nothing but each other. Anyway, they described the creature as being submerged up to its middle, with its head above the water, gazing at them and even shaking its head. Going on to write, the weather being fine, we had a full view of it, and that for 3 or 4 minutes. And finally, in 1967, near Main Islands in British Columbia, something strange happened. A ferry filled with tourists spotted a blonde-haired mermaid-like creature sitting on the beach, eating a fish. One witness even described her as attractive with dimples. To top it off, a photo was taken showing a woman with blonde hair and the lower half of a porpoise. Later that week, another mermaid sighting apparently occurred, but by then, skepticism was growing and a lot of people understandably started dismissing the sightings as hoaxes. Charles White, owner of the Undersea Gardens, a ship doubling as an underwater aquarium, offered a $25,000 reward for the mermaid's capture. He even promised room and board, plus special combs, for the mermaid's comfort, so quite an odd offer, but he was desperate to prove that she was real. Unfortunately, after a few weeks, the story lost steam and the mermaid sightings faded into local legend.
What if mermaids aren't just the stuff of storybooks and sailor tales? What if they were real and still out there? For centuries, cultures all around the world have told eerily similar stories about mysterious, half-human creatures living in the sea. And while Hollywood wants us to think of them as friendly singers with fishtails, history tells a much darker and much weirder story. These aren't just myths. Some of these encounters were recorded by respected explorers, witnessed by entire communities, and even caused governments to get involved. In 2009, residents of a quiet coastal town in Israel called Kiryat Yam started reporting something completely bizarre: a mermaid seen lounging on rocks at sunset before diving into the sea. Dozens of witnesses claimed to see the same thing: a female figure with pale skin, a fishtail, and long dark hair. The sightings became so frequent and credible that the local government did something no one ever expected. They offered a $1 million reward for anyone who could prove the mermaid's existence. One man said he watched her do a backflip before vanishing. Another woman swore she saw her tail slap the water. News outlets across the world picked up the story, camera crews came, tourists showed up, and yet no one was able to capture solid proof. But the stories didn't stop, and here is the weirdest part: the reward still stands to this day unclaimed. When Christopher Columbus spotted land in the Caribbean, he wasn't just discovering new territory, he may have discovered a mermaid. In his 1493 ship log, Columbus described seeing 3 creatures rise from the water with the upper bodies of women and tails like fish. His exact words: "They are not as pretty as they are depicted, for somehow in the face they look like men." Most historians chalk this up to a manatee sighting, but that doesn't fully make sense. Columbus was an experienced navigator, he knows what manatees looked like, and why would he mention their faces at all if it was just a sea cow? What makes this more intriguing is that other sailors on his crew also reported similar sightings. These weren't isolated events, they were shared, consistent, and written down in one of the most famous explorer journals of all time. Could Columbus have stumbled onto something we've since lost? In the rough, stormy waters between the Scottish mainland and the Outer Hebrides lies a stretch known as the Minch, and sailors have feared it for generations. The reason? A strange and sinister race of sea beings called the Blue Men. These weren't graceful mermaids, these were blue-skinned, human-sized aquatic beings who were said to control storms and drown ships. Legend says they would swim up to a boat and shout poetry or riddles at the captain. If the captain failed to answer in rhyme, the Blue Men would overturn the vessel. While this sounds like classic mythology, here's a very strange thing. This exact story has been passed down for hundreds of years with very little variation. Sailors in that area regularly experience unexplainable equipment failure, freak waves, and vanishings. To this day, some Scottish fishermen won't sail through this area without leaving an offering in the water. Superstition or something they're too afraid to talk about? You decide. In 2012, construction crews working at 2 separate dam sites in Zimbabwe refused to return to work. The reason? They claimed that they were being harassed and even physically attacked by mermaids living in the water. This wasn't just a local rumor, it reached Zimbabwe's House of Assembly. High-ranking government officials confirmed the stoppage and admitted traditional healers were being brought in to appease the water spirits. The mermaids, known in the local Shona culture, are believed to live in deep pools and protect sacred water sources. Locals describe them as beautiful but dangerous beings who can bless or curse anyone who crosses them. Despite pressure, workers wouldn't return until ceremonies were held, and after the rituals, work resumed without further incident. That kind of mass fear, especially among adults working a government project, doesn't just come from total imagination. Something in those waters had to have scared them.
Next on the list is the cave dive. This video was uploaded to YouTube by Suerte Mal Suerte, who stated that he'd been cave diving in a cenote cave near Cancun when he spotted something that looked a lot like a mermaid. A beautiful piece of footage here, by the way. We watch as he descends into the cave, diving underwater, and as he swims further into the depths, something swims by, right under one of his buddy's feet. Unlike some of the other footage on this list, this one is pretty clear. Hard to look at this creature and see anything else but a mermaid. Is this a woman in a very solid mermaid costume though, or do you think this is genuine? From Ladder Towel 9403 comes a story about an incredibly disturbing fishing trip. I was fishing in a river about 1.5 miles from my grandmother's house. I'd always walked there and fished from the bank where I'd gone since I was young. I was down fishing with my dog Josie, and I was sitting and leaning against a tree. Then my bobber went down hard and my rod almost went out of my hands. I figured I had a bass or catfish. For some reason though, I started following my line as if something was drawing me in. Josie was freaking out, yelling and even biting my leg trying to get me back, but I kept following it almost like I was in a trance. Then something broke the surface of the water right in front of me. All I could see was this torso with a greenish brown head, and I saw its hand, yes, a hand, was pulling my line towards it, and I was so scared but couldn't stop as it continued to pull me closer. Josie was between us, barking and snapping at it, and suddenly I was able to go back towards the bank, leaving everything. I saw it grab Josie, and going for my blade, I cut the line, grabbed Josie, and ran out of the water. I heard a weird slapping sound and a grunt, and I just kept running until I was almost home. Josie was hurt. One of her ears were almost gone. Finally though, I got to the house. I was crying and threw her in the car and went straight to the vet. Still wet and shaking, I told the vet something got her and waited anxiously until he came back and said that she was lucky, that he had extracted a tooth from her skull. He said it looked like an alligator tooth, but I knew better. I never told my family about what happened, but I knew damn well it wasn't an alligator. In 2009, a story came out about a series of mermaid sightings in Israel. The mayor of the small coastal town of Kiryat Yam was offering $1 million to whoever could prove the creature's existence. Now, the sightings didn't start in 2009. There had been reports of a mermaid-like creature for years before, but in the summer of that year, reports had been rising dramatically. The creature would often appear at sunset and perform a few tricks in the water before diving deeper into the depths. One man, Shlomo Cohen, described having spotted it, saying, "I was with friends when suddenly we saw a woman lying on the sand in a weird way. First I thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached, she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all in shock because we saw she had a tail." Redditor Cornholio69666, great name, posted their story about almost being dragged under the water by something. They wrote, "I'm living in the Caribbean in Utila, Honduras. Once I was in Neptune's, one of the most virgin beaches here, and I was just swimming, not even diving or snorkeling, and I felt a hand pulling me. And I have long hair to my shoulders. I'm 6'5", so it started pulling my hair. Obviously I panicked, and my two friends were looking at me like, what the F is going on? So I got back to the dock, and then I spot a remora. They have a soft tissue that makes suction, and that's how they cling to sharks and whales. But I've never encountered a fish that pulls down. My friend is a diving instructor, and she got into the water. The remora never got close to her, but it touched my legs, arms, it pulled my hair. My diving instructor friend vouches for my mermaid story, and I believe in them, honestly. And finally, we have the Australian mermaid sighting. Now, despite what you may think about the validity of this piece of footage, you cannot deny how darn beautiful it looks. And not just the supposed mermaid either, the bright blue, the abundance of the marine life, the sound of the water. It's an oddly relaxing video. We've looked at some dark stuff in this list, so this is a nice one to leave on. So our camera person is doing a dive, filming the beautiful waters before panning over to observe something swimming through the water. It looks like your classic mythological mermaid. It has a long fishy tail, and we also briefly see human-looking arms moving gracefully through the water before swimming out of sight deeper into the murkiness of the depths. In Japan, a mermaid mummy has been sitting in a temple for centuries, and no one really knows where it came from. Off the coast of Hawaii, a dive boat captain and his crew claimed they saw a mermaid mermaid swimming with dolphins, and he even snapped photos that were later confirmed to be unedited. In Zimbabwe, dam workers were so terrified of mermaids pulling people underwater that they abandoned their jobs. These are disturbing mermaid discoveries scientists can't explain. In Okayama Prefecture in Japan, there's a mysterious mummy that's been unsettling people for centuries, and that's because it's supposedly a mermaid mummy. It's about 30 centimeters long, with the upper body of what looks like a human or humanoid and the lower body of a fish. It still has hair on its head, teeth, nails, and scales, and its face is frozen in what looks like this silent scream, with its hands pulled up toward its mouth. The artifact's been kept at a temple in Asakuchi, where some people worship it. The temple's chief priest compared the mummy to Amabie, a mythical creature that's said to protect people from plagues. Supposedly, it also grants immortality to whoever tastes its flesh. The mummy, I mean, and I'm not sure anyone's been brave enough to try. According to an old note stored with the mummy, it was supposedly caught in a fishing net somewhere off the coast of Tosa province between 1736 and 1741. Over time, it passed through several hands before ending up at the temple. For years, the mummy was displayed in a glass case for visitors, but now it's stored safely in a fireproof box to protect it from falling apart. Just recently though, researchers from Kurashiki University of Science and the Arts, along with some folklore experts, started studying the mummy for the first time. They're using tests like CT scans and DNA analysis to figure out what it's actually made of. Some mermaid mummies in Japan have been proven to be crafted fakes, usually made by stitching together parts of fish and monkeys, but this one hasn't been officially confirmed yet. Hiroshi Kinoshita, who helped launch the project, says it's a chance to explore not just whether it's real, but what it means in Japanese folklore. For more than 50 years, people in Hawaii have claimed to see a mermaid swimming off the coast of Big Island, but the story is usually written off as local legends. That changed in 1998 when a dive boat captain named Jeff Leitcher said he not only saw the creature, but managed to capture it on film. Leitcher, who runs Jack's Diving Locker, was out on April 12, 1998 with 6 other divers about 20 minutes from Hawaii's Kona coast when something strange happened. I'd heard about her before, Leitcher said. Most of us who are out in these waters regularly have heard stories, but I'd never seen her until that morning. While heading out toward Kaiwi Point, a school of dolphins began swimming alongside their boat when one of the crew members suddenly started shouting and pointing at the water. I couldn't believe what I saw. There, not 10 feet from the bow, was what looked like a nude woman, Leitcher said. She had long flowing hair and one of the most beautiful faces I've ever seen. But there's no way a human being could be swimming so fast. She was keeping right up with the dolphins. Leitcher said the creature then jumped out of the water and said the entire lower half of her was, quote, covered with scales and tapered back into a huge fishtail. She jumped once more, then disappeared under the surface. According to Leitcher, all 10 people on the boat saw it as well, but that wasn't the end of it. About an hour later, while diving at the point, Leitcher said he had another close encounter. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my right leg. She shot by me like a streak of lightning, then turned and came back past me, swimming the other way. I just aimed the camera and started snapping pictures. I kept shooting as she broke the surface and swam away. These photos here were later analyzed by 3 separate photography labs, which all concluded that the images had not been altered or tampered with. I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world what people here have known for half a century, Leitcher said. The Kaiwi Point mermaid is real. Back in 2012, Zimbabwe ran into a strange problem at a couple of dam sites. Workers were so scared of mermaids that they just straight up abandoned their posts. Water Resources Minister Sam Sepepa Nkomo explained the situation during a Senate meeting, saying that workers believed mermaids were living in the reservoirs and pulling people underwater. Were so freaked out that they refused to come back. And hey, fair enough. Doesn't sound worth it to me either. There are plenty of jobs that don't involve getting dragged underwater and drowned by mythical creatures. To try and fix the issue though, the government brought in traditional chiefs to perform rituals to get rid of these mermaids. Nkomo said these ceremonies were done to, quote, exorcise mermaids believed to inhabit reservoirs. Now, thinking the problem might just be some local superstition, Nkomo also tried hiring foreign workers, figuring they wouldn't buy into the stories, but even those workers ended up reporting weird sightings and refused to continue the job. Some people, including Nkomo himself, wondered if dangerous water currents might have been to blame here instead of anything supernatural. But whatever the case, the government went ahead with the traditional rituals to calm everyone down, get work moving again. So I have no idea what really went on here, but what a bizarre story.
Number 6 spot today we have the shipwreck. Imagine plunging into the shadowy depths of a sunken ship where every creak and ripple tells a story of forgotten voyages. In this convincing footage, an intrepid explorer documents their underwater adventure with a steady hand. As they navigate the eerie shipwreck, schools of fish scatter through the murky water, and suddenly, one fish appears to be struck by a spear. Just when you think the suspense can't build anymore, a flash of movement catches the camera's eye. A swift, half-humanoid creature darts through the wreckage, snatching the fish with lightning speed before disappearing into the darkness. This fleeting glimpse of what some describe as a marine alien species blurs the line between legend and reality, leaving viewers mesmerized and questioning what truly lies beneath the waves. Could this mysterious being be living proof that mermaids or other mysterious sea creatures are in fact real? In our number 5 spot today we have the mermaid POV. Okay, we've already had a shark POV on this list today, but now we've got a video from the POV of an actual mermaid. I guess this video is like what would happen if mermaids could go live. Imagine diving into the deep blue from the very eyes of a mermaid herself. This video immerses you into an underwater world like no other. The footage starts with an intimate close-up of delicate neck gills, subtly moving as the mermaid breathes beneath the surface. Her graceful hands glide through the water, fingers trailing along vibrant coral and swaying seaweed, showcasing an elegance that feels almost otherworldly. As she navigates through the ocean currents, the camera captures her seamless movements, blending effortlessly with the surrounding marine life. Every moment is filled with wonder, making you question whether these enchanting beings truly exist or if it's all just an elaborate illusion crafted by nature's magic. Could this POV footage be the real proof that we've been searching for? In our number 4 spot today we have the Zimbabwe mermaid. Imagine strolling along the tranquil waters beneath a bridge in Zimbabwe when suddenly something extraordinary catches your eye. In this video, the camera swiftly zooms in to reveal a mesmerizing mermaid-like creature perched gracefully on a rocky shore. Her shimmering tail flicks in the sunlight as she moves from one rock to another, showcasing a blend of creepy movements and a ton of mystery. In the background, another figure can be seen moving by the pillars of the bridge, making this a rare time when possibly 2 mermaids were caught on tape at the same time. As the mermaid swings her tail and hops onto different rocks, her movements are so unhuman-like that it leaves a creepy feeling behind. Just as quickly as she appears, she slips behind the bridge, leaving viewers wondering if they've witnessed a true legend or an elaborate illusion. Could this enchanting creature truly inhabit the waters of Zimbabwe, or is it a stunning glimpse into the mythical world we've always dreamed of? In our number 3 spot today we have the siren call. This video was posted to TikTok by the user Megpie7, and it shows the call of a siren being heard. The video starts off with Meg just casually fishing off the dock in the night. Meg probably thought she was gonna have a nice, calm evening. Little did she know she was about to make quite the catch. The concept of the siren call has its roots deep in ancient Greek mythology, where sirens were depicted as enchanting yet perilous creatures. Originally portrayed as part bird and part part woman, sirens inhabited remote islands and were famous for their mesmerizing songs. These alluring melodies were so captivating that they would lure sailors off course, causing them to crash their ships onto rocky shores. One of the most famous tales involving sirens is found in Homer's Odyssey, where the hero Odysseus orders his crew to plug their ears with beeswax and have himself tied to the mast to safely navigate past the siren's irresistible song. Over time, the image of sirens has evolved, often blending with mermaid folklore to become more human-like, featuring beautiful women with fishtails. This is all to say that what this video captures is pretty insane and might really be something that is the stuff of legends. In our number 2 spot today we have the real mermaid. I'll be honest, this video doesn't really have me totally convinced, but I couldn't leave it out of this list today. This video was posted to YouTube and it just features some guys hanging out at what looks like some kind of freshwater river. They start off the video by saying that they are on a mermaid hunt and that this specific body of water always draws them in. Maybe it's the siren call that they're unknowingly hearing. Before long, they turn the camera toward the water and one of the men points out what we are all waiting to see. Just beneath the surface of the water, you can see the silhouette of a mermaid as she glides on by. The men quickly make quips about how it's strange to see such a creature in a freshwater setting as opposed to the usual salt water we would expect, but to be honest, does it really matter when we're talking about a fictional creature? Probably not, but I can definitely appreciate the attention to detail. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Australian Barrier Reef. Imagine diving into the vibrant, kaleidoscopic waters of the Great Barrier Reef, where every coral formation bursts with color and life. As schools of tropical fish weave through the swaying sea anemones, a graceful figure glides into view. A stunning mermaid with a shimmering tail that mirrors the reef's brilliant hues. Her movements are fluid and mesmerizing, seamlessly blending with the surrounding marine life as she swims gracefully past intricate coral structures. The video, captured by an awe-inspired snorkeler, perfectly balances the natural beauty of the reef with the mysterious allure of this mythical creature. Could this be real proof that mermaids share these pristine waters with us, or is it just a trick of light and perspective? As the footage spread across social media, it sparked debate, keeping the legend of mermaids alive and more captivating than ever. Whether a genuine glimpse into a hidden world or a stunning piece of underwater artistry, this video continues to inspire our dreams of what lies beneath the surface. Imagine walking alongside a windswept shoreline at dusk when you suddenly stumble upon a strange relic half buried in the sand. A comb with tangled hair, a blackened shell carved like an eye socket, or perhaps a tiny velvet pouch that feels like it could have held a mermaid's treasure. In the dim light, these finds look eerie and otherworldly, hinting that the line between myth and reality might be thinner than we think. Not every mermaid artifact is what it seems, but that only makes the truth more fascinating. It sounds like something out of a horror film, but in March 2025, beachgoers in Kent, England found a bizarre, washed-up object and at first thought it might be a mermaid's remains. They described it as a carved wooden creature with the tail of a fish and the torso and head of an alien-like creature. Paula Reagan, who took the photos, said, quote, "The head looked skeletal, but the back part, where the fishtail was soft and squidgy." Imagine that. A freaky fishtail thing staring back at you. Local police eventually determined it wasn't a real creature at all, but a carved figurehead or sculpture. In fact, it closely resembled images of P.T. Barnum's infamous 19th century Fiji mermaid hoax, a half-monkey, half-fish mummified oddity. In other words, it was art, not animal, but it is a perfect example of how our minds can play tricks. A bit of driftwood and carved wood looked exactly like a mermaid skeleton. So the lesson? Sometimes mermaid bones are just human-made curiosities masquerading as legend. Picture this. For decades, a small, blackened mermaid figure sat unnoticed in a Shinto temple in Japan, freakish and mysterious. Scientists finally took a close look in 2022 and were stunned by what they found. CT scans showed that the tiny mermaid, only about 30 centimeters long, wasn't a strange new animal at all, but a creepy doll made of paper, cloth, and fish parts. According to news reports, the creature, quote, looks like a monkey-mermaid hybrid, fuzzy head, little arms, a fishy tail, but under the skin there's no skeleton. In fact, the body is mostly stuffed cloth, the face has no bones, and the tail contains fish scales. One researcher said there's no fish skeleton at all inside. Radiocarbon dating even showed it was crafted around the late 1800s. Why would anyone do this? In Edo period Japan, the legend of the Ningyo was very popular. The theory is that this mermaid was created as a talisman or curiosity to attract pilgrims or bring good luck during a smallpox outbreak. In short, it was an elaborate hoax. Not a new sea creature, but it does make for a spooky story. Priests treated it like a sacred relic for generations, never guessing their mermaid was a stitched together doll of fish parts and paper. If you hear about someone finding a spiral horn on the beach, you might think unicorn, or perhaps mermaid unicorn. In fact, the long sword-like tusk of a narwhal has inspired exactly those myths. In medieval Europe, before narwhals were well known, wealthy rulers bought narwhal tusks thinking they were unicorn horns with magical powers. Princes' cups were carved from them, queens drank from them to purify water, and people definitely didn't think they came from whales. In one museum, the Cloisters in New York, an 80-inch tusk is labeled as a unicorn horn even as recently as the 17th and 18th centuries. In some seafaring legends, these ivory spirals were also called horns of the sea or linked to merpeople. So a narwhal tusk could be called a mermaid's horn in the right folklore, but it's really just the tooth of a deep-sea whale. This real artifact turned myth just shows how an ordinary sea creature can spawn wild mermaid or unicorn stories. Have you ever picked up a little black pouch on the sand and wondered if it was a mermaid's treasure? Those little leathery cases are actually called mermaid's purses, but sadly they aren't filled with pearls or coins or forks. They are shark and skate egg cases. The embryos of baby sharks or rays developing safely inside. Scientists explain that some skates and sharks don't give live birth, but instead they lay eggs sealed in these pouch-like cases. To early beachcombers, a mermaid's purse just looked like something a mermaid might carry. A conservation group notes some people believe they were purses or bags for the treasures belonging to a mermaid, but in reality, if you open one up carefully after it's hatched, of course, you'd find a tiny shark pup. So next time you see a mermaid's purse tangled in seaweed, remember it's a gift from a shark mom, not a mermaid, and it might just be best to leave it alone. One of the creepiest places you might find a mermaid is in a church, but that's exactly what happened in Cornwall, England. In the 14th century, a choir boy in Zennor disappeared, and the local legend says a mermaid lured him away. The church still has a hand-carved wooden pew end showing a mermaid with a fishtail, so worshippers literally sat next to a mermaid carving every single Sunday. This is the only medieval church bench end in England known to depict a mermaid, and the carving was likely inspired by this legend. Today you can still see her in the church pew. It is a fascinating blend of faith and folklore, a real wooden artifact commemorating a local mermaid myth. In 1493, Christopher Columbus wrote in his logbook that he saw 3 mermaids off the coast of Haiti. He was disappointed to find that they were not as beautiful as he expected. They looked like 3 men in the sea. But here's the twist. Almost certainly those mermaids were not mythical sirens at all, but manatees. The Smithsonian's Ocean blog explains that Columbus's mermaids were probably the first recorded sightings of manatees, also referred to as sea cows. Manatees are big, chubby, and have round faces, not like a Hollywood mermaid, but from a distance a tired sailor might convince himself they were human-like. Scientists point out that the order name for manatees is Sirenia, from sirens, because mariners long ago thought these gentle mammals were mermaid relatives.
From a now deleted Reddit user comes a story about an experience a man had while at the beach. He writes, "I'm posting here because I don't know where else to post and ask about this. I was at the beach with some family. My daughter and I were in the water, maybe 100 yards or so offshore. I was maybe 15 feet out past her when I heard this noise. The only way I can describe it is radar, sonar-ish. It was deep and I felt it. I've been around the ocean my whole life, 40 years, and never heard anything like this. Then I heard it again. I swam back to her and asked if she heard it. She said yes. I told her to mimic the sound, and she did. Then it happened one more time, and then a young guy yells over, "Did you hear that? That's scary." Is it possible, hypothetically, that if a submarine is offshore but close, you could hear it and feel the instruments? Otherwise, I have no explanation. Sticking with Reddit for a minute, one user named CrazyPrior5350 asked people to share some of the weirdest or creepiest sounds people had heard at sea. One user commented, "I've heard singing and speaking voices that didn't belong to anyone on the boat. It was just a little louder than a whisper, basically just loud enough that it was understandable. Everyone else heard it too, but it was oddly comforting instead of creepy." And yeah, this sounds a lot like the types of legends of mermaid sounds I discussed at the top of the video, doesn't it? And other commenters agreed. But one commenter did say that sound travels really easily on water, which is true, to which the user responded, "It has happened a few times with the boat I'm on being the only one in eyesight, but I usually chalk it up to stuff like that. Unless my nieces or nephews hear it too, then I say it's mermaids or something." The Arctic ping was a mysterious noise reported in 2016 near a small Inuit hamlet called Igloolik in Nunavut. Hunters in the area began to notice this strange pinging noise coming from the Fury and Hecla Strait, which is about 75 miles northwest of their community. What made the sound especially concerning wasn't just how odd it was, it actually seemed to be having a negative effect on the wildlife. The hunters found that the noise seemed to be scaring away the sea mammals that they rely on for food. The sound appeared to be originating from the sea floor. But it wasn't just a few locals hearing these sounds. It got serious enough that they had to call the military in to investigate. And the military claimed they couldn't find any concrete source of this pinging. So what are some possible explanations? Well, aside from mermaids, of course, I mean, that's obvious. One theory that was floating around was that Greenpeace activists might have been causing it, trying to scare off animals to protect them from hunters. This next underwater sound is still yet to be fully explained. Some think it may have been caused by an iceberg, but either way, it's still a super haunting recording. The eerie sound has been dubbed Julia and was captured by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. When the NOAA placed hydrophones deep in the ocean, they unexpectedly picked up this low-frequency sound resembling a haunting, almost ghostly moan. A lot of people who listen to this think that there's something so alive about the sound. It's like something only a living creature could make. And yeah, to me, totally sounds like some sort of large sea creature or maybe a mermaid type animal. I don't know what it is about underwater recordings. There's something so unsettling about them. I think it's the way the sound carries underwater. You know, they have this very spacey, ethereal quality about them. I also think that's just the fear of the unknown. We picture ourselves submerged in the expanse of the dark depths of the sea before hearing a low, droning, lonely hum from something lurking in the distance. It's just creepy. The bloop is a famous underwater sound that has still yet to be 100% identified. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was doing their thing. They were monitoring underwater sounds in the Pacific Ocean when they came across this eerie recording. The bloop was like nothing they had ever heard before. It was this crazy low-frequency noise that lasted for an entire minute. People were going nuts trying to figure out what could have made such a sound. Of course, wild theories started flying around. Some folks thought it was some kind of massive sea creature, like a supersized version of Nessie or Kraken. Others were convinced that maybe it was aliens, because, you know, when we don't know what something is, it's got to be a ghost or aliens, right? But as it turns out, the NOAA scientists had a more down-to-earth explanation. They reckon that the bloop was caused by a huge chunk of ice breaking off from a glacier and falling into the ocean. You know, scientists are always trying to ruin the fun. I still like to think it's a sea creature. And again, the sea, the ocean, it's vast.